you studied editing, but in fact you were in Alsace more to experiment with film. This element of experimenting, because you met Chantal Akerman on this great festival, what's called Experimental, what was founded and organized by Jacques Ledoux. You met in '75, the last edition of the festival, but this experimental festival and the Grand Prize winner of the edition of '67, Wavelength by Michael Snow, was extremely important for Chantal Akerman, but also for you.
Yeah, I want to say that I was very lucky because I study in the ENSAS when there is a few professors. Then we were very free to edit, to film, to do anything if you want to work. Then during my studies, I don't want to be a virtual technician in cinema. I was here to place the material, the cameras and so on, and to experiment what is really editing. Then during 3 years, I was editing only by rushes I found in trash and so on, and I was very interested and passionate by what is really the material, the essential of the material of cinema. Then experimental film cinema was for me, I go there every year. Then I always wanted to make something new, in a new way of filming and telling stories, or not telling stories. Then at once with Chantal Akerman, who was in the same level, we have no to explain why and how and so on. We were really in the same level of mind. She make an experiment film. I have to found an experiment way of editing. It was obvious.
But she went, after being in Brussels and Paris, she went to New York through Babette Meingold, who was a cinematographer on the film
Marcel
L'Automne,
Hanoun.
Marcel Hanoun,
Yeah.
and there she was put in contact with the Anthology Film Archives by Jonas Mekas. She saw the minimalist, the structural films, etc., and she made herself Hôtel Monterey, La Chambre, very experimental films. When you met her, the film Jeanne Dielman was already shot, and you were asked, in fact, to edit the material, the rushes, but you had to do it in a completely different and non-traditional way.
Yeah, because I don't read at all the script.
Yeah.
Then I discover the rushes, and immediately I said, we are in a film will date the story of cinema. I was sure of it. Immediately. Then, after then, I choose a way of editing. For me, editing in this film was not to cut. It was to choose the good rhythm of every shot. To make, like in music, 3 days, 3 rhythm of the gesture of Jalil. This was my work. It was not, I cut this shot, because it's not cutting, because in action film it's cutting, the important thing. There it was not cutting, it was how to choose, how to be able to make the film every day of each tempo it was one shot. Then the editing has to be humble, invisible. I choose this way. I propose this to Chantal, and she said, oh, I never imagined that it was like this, but you are right, we do this. Then we have this principle, and after that we were working very, very quietly.
Very what?
very quietly, without discussion.
Vous parliez en anglais ou vous parliez en français avec Madame Ackerman?
On était francophone l'une
Ah oui,
et l'autre.
Ça dérange.
Ah oui, ça serait bien.
Non, c'est étonnant de
parler
vous
en
entendre parler en
français.
anglais.
Ah,
Oui, mais c'est bon, en fait, pour les néerlandophones et les francophones, qu'on a choisi
Ah.
de faire la masterclass ou le
Ah.
talk in English. That's why it is announced in the program.
mais vous pouvez aussi me poser des questions en français, j'y
Pardon, je
répondrai
me
en
suis permis
français.
d'interrompre. Je me suis permis d'interrompre, mais c'est étonnant de vous entendre réfléchir comme ça.
Ouais.
Okay, we can go on in English or? Yeah. Okay. But in fact, Patricia, when you gave the interview, also for the edition of the restoration of the film,
Yeah.
for the DVD, you were speaking about your role as an editor, as a sculptor in time,
Yeah.
referring to the beautiful work of Andrei Tarkovsky. So sculpting and sculpting in time with the rhythm.
He writes in his book that editing is sculpting time. And it's right.
And so how to make it in a very concrete way, because you see it's about duration, it's about time, it's about the long takes. Let's say 10 minutes. You have the frontal camera, the frontal shots, the fixed shots. And how did you decide on where
But
to
long
where to
shots
cut?
are shots,
Long takes, more, yeah.
which include editing.
Mhm.
Then you can't edit in cutting the time and the rhythm inside of the action of this one long shot with a certain rhythm. Then for me it was like a performance of acting. She's in the dining room. When she finished his work in the dining room, she goes to the kitchen. When she finished in the kitchen, she goes to the bathroom. When she finished there, the editing was really to make a narration about mostly the space and the rhythm and not the story, because there is no story to tell. We are like with a microscope looking at one person 3 days.
And within this rhythm, there is a kind of ritualization of the gestures of the act,
Yeah.
in order also, even if there is no plot, or in order to have attention
Yeah.
still.
Yeah. In fact, Chantal Ackerman likes a lot film of Bresson, Dreyer, Godard, Michael Snow, and other experimental directors. But what was important for her, it was the tension. And in fact, Jeanne Dielman, we are in a quite physical tension during the first tempo, the second tempo different, the third tempo destroying the first. Then we are living in a quite tension during all the film. And this is the purpose of Chantal. She wanted this tension.
The link also with experimenting with the let's say with the form, but also the screenplay. We have been to the exhibition. We've seen some of the fragments of the screenplay. It was not this classical screenplay. It is also.
It's quite Le Nouveau Roman of the 70s. It's very neutral descriptions. And in acting with Delphine Seyrig, Delphine Seyrig was involved with what I have to think when I am doing this or that. You think about nothing. You are peeling potatoes. Basta. Then she doesn't want the projection of the spectator to an actor. She doesn't want a deep psychology. She has to be neutral, like in a microscope, like a scientific. What is doing this woman? We are observing. Is the reason why the camera is static. We are in observation. We are witness of this way of life. This is important too.
And you have also this kind of idea about the title of the film.
Yeah.
Dilman,
Yeah.
that you want to.
Yeah, the title is
explain
a postal address. Then in the 70s, a postal address with the name of a woman, it or a young woman or a widow. Then we know immediately, then she's a widow. We are in the address of Brussels in Belgium. Then immediately, for the people who knows, we are in the city with two languages, French and Flemish. And then in the title, we see how it's like an administrative position of Chantal Akerman to this character. We are going through a listing, an administrative listing. This woman, widow, living there, and almost we are very near a very detailed living. The most we touch the universe. And is every woman. And this is the powerful of this title. It's not une femme pendant 3 jours. It's not the story of, no. The determination of this administrative position, address, postal address, is really, we are the witness of this woman during 3 hours. And this is important too.
How do you link this with she's receiving the clients and she is?
Oh, she receiving the clients because at this time feminists said that a woman, a married woman, is like a whore because she gave her body without desire to the husband, and then she received money because she's in an apartment. She's entretenue. Then Chantal Akerman wants to go at the end of this kind of thinking. Then a widow, it's not a problem for her to have clients and to have money, like she was doing before with the husband. And then, like said le film of Jean Eustache, La Maman et la Putain, we are really in presence of this, but not putain, it's putain, because all the women married were whores for the feminists in the at this time.
Linking with this feminism, we know that Chantal Akerman didn't want to be labeled and considered as a feminist, even if she is in touch with like feminist elements and topics, of course. Then there is this extraordinary performance of Delphine Seyrig, who plays for the first time, let's say, this ordinary woman. She who played like the glamorous La déesse du cinéma français in Baiser volé, Baudin, l'année dernière à Marienbad, but who was already a feminist activist even before Jeanne Dielman, and certainly when she made the manifesto films after Jeanne Dielman.
Yeah. In fact, Delphine Seyrig has to rehearse a lot of time to be able to act in a so fluent way, how to make potatoes, how to cook, how to make coffee, and so on. Then for her, it was a kind of activism to do as an actress this kind of gesture. Then for her, it was important. But I think that this choice is very, very incredible because if it was not a star of glamour, if it was an actress unknown, the film will not have this impact. Because when Jeanne Dielman as Delphine Seyrig is acting, we are looking at her. We are looking at her body. Then we are able to be in every gesture she does. This is so important choice.
And you see this rehearsing very good in the making of the film Autour de Jeanne Dielman. That was made by.
There are before
yeah.
there were only without filming. They were in kitchen. No, your hand like this. No, do this. No, do this. Then it was really, and she was. She has 15 kilos more than it's for an actress. It's really a performance to become another woman than a glamorous star of cinema.
And she was quite militant about that because after this film, she made, I think, 2 or 3 films with male directors, but most of them with female directors.
Yeah.
Radical for her. And perhaps also this important year, 1975. So Jeanne Dielman was selected in the Quinzaine des Réalisateurs, but then Delphine Seyrig, she was in 2 other films by female directors.
Yeah, in 1975, on the Cannes Festival, 3 female was directors, Chantal Akerman, Marguerite Duras, and Liliane de Kermadec. And the 2 films have Delphine Seyrig acting.
But in completely different roles. So you had India's Song, where she's the ambassador's wife.
Yes, but the 3 films, the theme is confinement of women.
Yeah.
India's Song is confinement of a woman who lives in Calcutta. She's married with an ambassador, and she's completely locked down in the luxury of a colony. The film of Kermadec is how a woman is becoming insane. And insane, she's locked in a psychiatric hospital. And she reacts in painting and make designs. And she was, at the end of her life, a very good artist of raw art.
Outsider's art.
Yes. Then the theme was the same.
The confinement. 3 roles and 3 films. When we see the element of experimenting with the image, with the substance, with the scenario, but there's also what is extraordinary, I think, the way the sound is recorded and is edited as well. I think you have worked closely together with Chantal Akerman and also Alain Marchal.
We decided with the sound engineer to make the hyperrealism of this film more and more in a high level. Then we decided to register every sound and to edit each sound apart. And afterward, mixing in a high level more than in an ordinary film, because normally the gesture of real things, they are mixing very low, because the most important is dialogues and music. And this is the music of the film, the rhythm of the sounds. Then we make with ordinary gesture an extraordinary film. In fact, the ordinary became extraordinary because we put it up. And this is very important when we see the film entirely, because the sounds and the repetition of the sounds and the gesture.
'Cause let's say that the switching off
The
and the
switching,
switching on and
we
off.
choose a material different in switching.
Because not every switch is the same material. It's
No,
not
no,
a-
no, 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 no. Then I think that it was a good idea too.
Mhm. But you felt, you were saying to me or telling like the editing had to be very, you had to
Oh yeah,
edit very fastly because there
Yeah,
was Canon.
we
etc.
have 1 month half. We have, in fact, six weeks
6 weeks.
to edit a film long of 3 hours.
So it was intense and urgent.
Intense,
day and night.
urgent. I slept so few, 2 hours a day. I have an assistant by night, an assistant by day, and then we are like in a way of thinking completely immersed in the film. It's interesting to have this intensity during the editing.
So we know that thanks to the exhibition, the wonderful catalog, also the whole retrospective that is organized by Cinematheque, the Fondation Chantal Akerman Beaux-Arts, a lot of contemporary directors are influenced by the work by Jeanne Dielman, but the later work of Chantal Akerman, Todd Haynes and Gus Van Sant and Celine Sharma. But for you also as a filmmaker, as a visual artist, what meant this film, working with Chantal Akerman on this film in that intense, urgent way, till now? Yeah.
Still now, for 50 years, my theme in all my work is confinement. It's the same thing I discover with a new expression in Jeanne Dielman, and from that moment, when I am a filmmaker, I am a photographer, what interests me is confinement of women conditions. Why? How? And to observe it.
And that we will see, because it's a nice link we can make with, you have met Chantal Akerman and Delphine Seyrig on Experiment in 1975. You will participate in an exhibition in Knock in the end of August. On the
I will have an exhibition in an artist exhibition in Knock-le-Zout in August, and my theme is
the confinement.
Our bodies and women.
The question that I want to ask, we went to the exhibition and we saw the installation Woman Sitting After Killing. What was the installation that was made based on the final shot of Jeanne Dielman. What is your idea
It
about
was the most powerful and beautiful of the film, because this shot it's really a synthesis of all the film, because after killing this man, killing because pleasure in a lockdown woman is impossible to live, then she has all to kill herself or to kill him, but it was impossible to make peace from pleasure and the way of survive with gesture, obsessive gesture to be a woman. Then after killing this man, she's going more and more in confinement because she's lost. And after that, what is the end of this film? She's going to be insane. She's going to be locked down in a hospital or in prison. There is no issue. It's a Greek tragedy, really.
I would say to open the talk or the conversation to the audience, and if you have the microphones.
Yes.
So you can ask a question in French, in Dutch, in English, in German, in Italiano, anche.
Merci beaucoup pour vos confidences. C'est juste une remarque sur le côté à propos de Jean Eustache. Sa vision des femmes n'avait absolument rien à voir avec celle de Chantal, absolument pas. C'était juste de la consommation et c'était le macho parfait. On peut dire ça.
Certes, mais il dénonçait la dichotomie qui règne dans toutes les femmes. On est des mères et des putains. On ne sait pas être une femme. On fait de nous ces deux pôles.
Oui.
De façon différente.
Voilà.
Voilà.
Ce sont les hommes qui font ça.
Absolument.
Mais le fait de revendiquer ça prouve à quel point il était machiseux.
Oui, mais bien sûr, bien entendu. Non, je dis simplement qu'il dénonçait ces deux pôles.
Bien sûr.
Dans
il
lesquels
dénonçait ou il constatait.
Il constatait
et en profitant.
Exactement.
Merci.
Oui.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to hear you. And I saw the movie a few days ago at the Ritz Cinema, and there was a student who said a lot about the editing of it, and it's the first time I learned how important was actually the editing, because so very often we focus also on the director. So I have one question, and the other is more like a comment. So the question is, was it initially planned to be 3 days? And was it like the routine planning that order? Because I think it's quite important, and there's a bit like a Chekhov's gun, certain elements that in the last day that suggest that something would come out of the order, and the order is really kind of imposing, and when things start to kind of mess up a bit, the feeling is that there might be some escape. Either they go to Canada or something, shaking that horrid routine. So that was my first question. That's my first question, whether it was that specifically every detail planned that much before the editing. And the second question is, there was now with the promotion of this movie by Sofia Coppola, Priscilla, there was a comment, because obviously the movie has completely been announced by Elvis Estate and so on. So there was a comment, because Sofia Coppola is always very interested in women's kind of subjects, and also she said that she's been inspired by Chantal and Agnes Varda. And she said, I just cannot resist a trapped woman. So that's how she goes on about making movies. So I thought that's a very nice way, and remind me of what you've just said about the confinement. Yeah. So thanks.
The 3 days were decided by Chantal before shooting. It was in the script, but I don't read the script. Then I just watch the rushes, and then I was directly in the material of the film, and I see directly that it was 3 days, and then 3 different ways to rhythm the repetitive gestures, and it was done. I have to be humble to respect these times, different times. An editor has to be has to reveal what is the rushes. Nous sommes les révélateurs des films.
Et en termes de quantité, les rushs, ça représentait...
Eh bien, 3h40 x 4.
C'est
Il y avait au moins 3-4 prises par plan. C'est pour ça que le travail de mémoire était super important. La quantité de pellicule.
There was also the difficulty that you explained that you had to work on a copy in black and white.
And time in black and white is not the same as in color.
So it was extra complicated.
Yeah. Parce que le noir et blanc coûte moins cher que la couleur. En fait, en général, on appelle ça une copie de travail. Donc, imaginez une copie de travail de 3h40 x 4. Vous imaginez le métrage. Donc, le métrage en noir et blanc coûtait moins cher qu'en couleur.
Et la couleur arrive à quel moment?
Quand le film est fini. Donc, c'est...
Ah oui, c'est
la surprise.
Oui, c'est incroyable sur le grain, enfin, oui, sur les faux.
Ouais.
Je vous donne le micro.
Oui, mais
C'est pour le public, vous entendre aussi.
c'est juste une question. Donc, ça veut dire que ce qu'on voit, c'est les 25% de ce qui avait été tourné à l'origine.
Bien sûr.
Merci.
Bah, comme dans plein de films, il y a des gens qui tournent 10 prises, 25 prises, d'autres 2. Comme John Huston, il disait aux acteurs, je tourne 2 prises, si vous êtes mauvais, tant pis pour vous. Donc voilà, après, chaque réalisateur tourne beaucoup de prises, peu de prises, donc c'est vrai que quelqu'un qui tourne beaucoup de prises, on a des fois 10 fois, 20 fois moins que ce qui a été tourné, bien sûr.
Vous avez employé le mot tragédie.
Oui.
C'était... comme spectateur, c'était évident. C'était grec.
Oui.
Et je me demandais si ça faisait partie de vos conversations, avec des intentions.
On parlait très peu, on faisait. On était d'accord, donc il n'y avait pas à avoir des discussions, on n'avait pas le temps, on travaillait et on dormait, on mangeait un petit peu. Mais donc, la tragédie grecque, c'est parce qu'effectivement, il n'y a aucune solution. Après ces 3 jours, aucune issue n'est possible. Donc c'est ça le tragique, effectivement. Mais ce sens du tragique, je l'avais pendant le montage aussi. Donc c'est pas... Remember what?
Si vous vous rappelez de quelque chose écrit dans le journal, les critiques spéciales sur le film, que vous avez plu.
Je sais qu'il y a eu de très très mauvaises critiques.
Ah non.
Bah oui, en Belgique, tout le monde a détesté le film, bien sûr. Mais je me demande si Lacan n'a pas écrit un article dans Le Monde, parce que Lacan a pu Jadis.
Non, mais il y a eu un magnifique article dans Le Monde qui disait en première page « Comment dit-on chef-d'œuvre au féminin ?»
Voilà. Et ben c'est de qui ça?
de Louis-Marc Aurèle.
Ah, de Louis-Marc, voilà, c'est ça. Donc la France a effectivement reconnu la qualité de ce film, mais en Belgique, pas du tout.
Je pense que ce film n'est pas sorti en Italie. Moi, je ne le connaissais pas. C'est-à-dire qu'il n'y a pas une version qui a été destinée au marché italien.
Non.
Non.
Non, je crois pas, non. Mais peut-être qu'elle a... Parce que après la sortie et la non-sortie, puisqu'en Belgique, les distributeurs, au bout d'une semaine, ils ont tout fermé, disant que c'était pas rentable, elle a fait beaucoup de festivals, en fait, pendant presque 1 an. Elle a parcouru le monde avec ce film dans plein de festivals étrangers. Non, Marilyn, qu'est-ce que tu penses, hein,
Oui,
ça?
oui, tout à fait. Pendant
voilà.
à peu près
Donc,
2
ce
ans.
film
Oui.
a eu un succès d'estime dans des festivals de films à l'étranger.
À quel point était présente Chantal pendant que vous faisiez l'editing, pendant le mois et demi?
Elle était à côté de moi, elle s'endormait, elle partait, elle revenait. C'était évident. On parlait très peu. On disait oui, c'est bien. Ah, peut-être un peu plus, non. Enfin, on était dans un état particulier qui faisait qu'il n'y avait pas de quoi discuter. On était assez en phase sur beaucoup de choses. Et puis elle était fatiguée du tournage, donc elle avait besoin de dormir, contrairement à moi qui était très éveillée.
Vous n'aviez pas été sur le tournage?
Non, pas du tout. J'ai ni lu le script, ni été sur le tournage. J'ai été la première spectatrice du film. Aucune décision n'a été prise, ça c'est fait. J'ai pas voulu, on n'a pas... Elle est venue avec les boîtes dans ma salle de montage, on a commencé à travailler. J'ai pas dit, ah mais avant je vais quand même peut-être lire. J'ai même pas eu ce réflexe. J'ai chargé les rushs et on a commencé à regarder. Donc.
C'est habituel ça?
Non, enfin habituel. En général, on choisit un monteur ou une monteuse avant le tournage d'un film. Des fois, on lui fait lire le script avant le tournage. Des fois, même, il vient au tournage de temps en temps.
Je voulais dire si c'était habituel pour vous d'avoir peu d'informations, de commencer à travailler directement.
En général, je préfère travailler avec le matériau directement. C'est vrai que les deux autres films expérimentaux de long métrage que j'ai montés en Belgique, films belges, encore une fois, le film de Claude Zakaï et le film de Marie Jiménez, j'ai pas lu le scénario. C'est vrai que le scénario est un intermédiaire. Et en fait, je préfère travailler directement avec la matière directement. Enfin, voilà, pour moi, oui, c'est vrai. C'est plus important que de commencer à faire, à lire de façon littéraire un objet qui n'est qu'un intermédiaire entre une idée et ce qui va être tourné. Donc, puisque c'est tourné, autant aller directement à ce qui est tourné.
C'est peut-être pour éviter aussi une intellectualisation ou...
Non, tout simplement, c'est une question de matière. Je vais directement à la matière.
Est-ce qu'il y a des plans qui n'ont pas été montés?
Non.
Est-ce qu'elle était contente de toute la matière ou elle a eu des déceptions sur certaines choses ou elle était...
Non, il n'y avait pas forcément. Non, il n'y avait pas de déception. Il y avait... Non.
Mais le scénario était tellement écrit, comment est-ce que tu n'es pas passé à côté de choses?
Non. Ben non, parce que je suis en face de la matière. À côté de quoi je vais passer? Je suis dans le film. Donc j'ai pas besoin de lire l'intermédiaire qui est un scénario, même s'il était magnifiquement bien écrit, parce que après le film, je l'ai lu et je me suis dit, mais c'est du nouveau roman. C'est écrit comme un livre de Nathalie Sarraute ou de Rob Grillet ou de Francis Ponge, bien sûr. Mais j'avais pas besoin de ça puisque j'avais directement la matière qui était devant moi et on était pressés. Chaque heure comptait. Donc je n'allais pas passer mon temps à lire d'abord le scénario.
Oui, et par rapport à cette contrainte des 6 semaines, est-ce qu'il y a eu des frustrations après, à la fin du montage ou,
Aucune. Si je devais refaire ce montage aujourd'hui, je ferais exactement la même chose. Pareil.
Et je voulais savoir aussi si vous aviez eu des contraintes d'un point de vue production ou vous étiez complètement libre de faire ce que vous vouliez.
Bah, quand on n'a pas d'argent, on est très libre. On ne dit pas ça suffisamment dans les écoles de cinéma. Hein? Quand on n'a pas d'argent, on est libre. Même dans la vie d'ailleurs. Quand on ne possède rien, on est libre. C'est quand on possède qu'on a des problèmes.
On this live lessons, so we will have the pleasure tomorrow to have a masterclass with the students in the Ritz on what is long take in different kind of films. The retrospective of the œuvre of Chantal Akerman continues here. Et aussi, il y aura, I will say it in English as well, because we have a 1-hour lecture in English in Cinema Ritz, what is in the Dansaarstraat, at 6:30 Tuesday evening by Anke Brouwers, who gives a 1-hour lecture on Chantal Akerman. It is followed by a screening of La Captive, The Captive, and it is another great restoration by the Fondation and Cinematheque. Thank you, Patricia, to be our guest. And see you tomorrow as well. Thank you for coming.